Hi, everyone, and welcome to the episode of Business Masters podcast. My name is Eugene Alexiev, and having more than 10 years of experience in IT, I currently an investor in several companies. I help them scale and grow their revenues and help other business owners to scale their business up to 5 million plus revenue in a year by helping with the strategic partnerships, strategic management, process optimization, and so much more. Here in this episode, you will see and learn more about business owners and entrepreneurs who started their business some time ago and now achieved quite a lot of success. You will learn more about their struggles in day-to-day processes, how they scale their businesses, how they hire people, and how they prepare their companies for sale and growth. So I hope that you will enjoy these episodes, and we will start right now. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast where we meet different entrepreneurs and business people who share their knowledge and path to their success, how they started and scaled their businesses, and how they struggle with some problems and how they deal with them. And today our guest is Chris. Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah, really excited.
Yeah. Could you please tell a little bit more about yourself to our audience so listeners can know you better?
Yeah, no worries. So my name's Chris Jones. I'm a co-founder of a little studio called Woven Studio. And basically my background is in design, specifically web design and user experience. So that kind of specific side of design. And recently, together with a business partner, Ben, who's also a really good friend of mine, we started Woven Studio. Um, Basically, the background is that we had our own careers and our own sort
Yeah.
of lives, and then I think at some point in 2022, um, Ben sort of approached me and said, do you want to do something together? And the timing was kind of right for us as well. Like there was, yeah, a lot of sort of I think opportunity
Mhm.
for us to go off and to start Woven. So the timing was right. And yeah, and we officially launched sort of at the beginning of this year, beginning of last year. So about this time last year.
Yeah, that's really great. So basically, you are a new young business who is achieving the path towards success. And could you please tell a little bit more about what exactly you do? So basically, you started, as you said, with the design services, and then you transitioned to the no coding development and other similar stuff. Could you please tell a little bit more about your model?
One of the things that has happened recently in the web design space, specifically, is the sort of the rise of no and low code tools. And for us, when we saw what you could kind of do on Webflow, we realized that we were able to deliver the work that is normally associated with, or the quality of work that's normally associated with bigger agencies, but from a smaller agency. And we could deliver this work without developer. We could essentially be our own developers, our own front end
Yeah.
developers. And so for us, I guess our model specifically is we go from design to strategy, design, and then development and launch ourselves. And the idea being that we can keep ourselves pretty lean, pretty sort of
Yeah.
agile, I guess. Then where we need extra skills, we can kind of bring those in. But essentially, it's just the two of us, and really, that's only been possible very up until very recently. Like it's not something you could kind of
Mhm.
do a couple of years ago. So it's really kind of exciting, I
Mhm.
guess, in terms of a business model, and
Mhm.
these tools are changing all the time as well. We're sort of still trying to keep up to date with everything that's going on, and sort of and where new tools are sort of available, kind of bring those into the fold
Mhm.
to expand, what we can do on the web, and and make sort of really sort of interesting experiences. There's kind of two main sides, or I guess three main sides to Woven. So there's branding, There's web development or sort of websites, and then sort of campaigns. And so branding and websites, they're kind of our two biggest sort of service areas.
Yeah.
And the idea with us, like coming to an agency like us, is that like a business wanting to launch can approach us, and we can do some brand strategy. We can complete, the brand work, and then we can create a really nice sort of online presence that matches that brand and that, really sort of sets them apart. And we can put that out there for them and, start attracting customers and all that kind of thing. And so the idea is that a small team of two essentially can, launch someone's business online, which is really only possible sort of
Yeah, yeah.
recently. So it's quite exciting, but it seems to be working out well. We were anticipating that maybe we'd have a little bit of branding work and sort of mostly web design work. There is sort of quite a high demand for businesses launching at the moment and wanting sort of an agency that has all of those skills and one that can sort of start from the brand ideation, create some really successful branding and launch a website that basically puts their business out there. So yeah, that's what we've found through this journey, and that's the kind of work that we want to be able to do too. So it's a really nice match of, I guess, what's
This also on the market that at some point there are just design agencies who can just create you some logo, branding, like banners for ad campaigns, etc. And there are web agencies who can just code you with their specific websites for web apps, etc. But in order to combine these two completely different spheres, you need to be quite skilled in both ways, because there are a lot of agencies who does this, but they have quite a high tickets for starting their business. And when you are dealing with the entrepreneurs, so people just who wanting to start their MVP, at some time they have quite a limited budget, or they have the budget and they want to spend it wisely just to do some part of the coding and development and branding, and then spending other part for the marketing, because you know that the development of the features is only like 20-25% of the success. You need the market, you need the marketing, and you need to understand the audience of yours in order to know who you are targeting. How do you think, is it now a successful model for you? What about the results? So can you please share some?
Yeah. So I'm happy to share some results. The thing with having two main, I guess, employees in the studio is it's good. Like it's great in terms of a very low overhead. So our initial sort of there wasn't a lot of sort of capital required to like get the business up and running. We're a remote studio as well, so our costs aren't that high. And so that kind of really helped us with launching. And so we don't have project managers or developers or anything like that. So it's all kind of just us. And so that has kind of helped us, I guess, stay technically profitable in the first year. Although we didn't make that much. I think we were up to sort of 17, 18K in our first year, which obviously not a huge amount, but we were able to cover all our costs and break even. And again, that's due to just being having a really lean model where we are remote and there's the two of us. And because obviously we don't need a team to do development and all these other kind of things you'd normally get with a bigger agency, it means our overheads are just are very, very, very
So
small.
basically in 17, 18K in net, and what's the revenue in this case?
So the revenue in that case, I think probably around 12, 13K.
Per month.
Yeah. No, so that was over the course of the entire year.
Okay, understood. What are your projections for that, and what are your plans? So basically you do not have any subcontractors or freelancers.
What we're working with at the moment are basically contractors in the development space.
Yeah.
to take on sort of these bigger and bigger, I guess more ambitious sort of web
Hmm.
projects where we've got, web applications and all that kind of thing
Hmm.
tied into the front ends that we're creating. And so I think develop these relationships with developers is pretty crucial to that scaling. That's going to mean that we can, take on these bigger web projects, which is obviously going to be great for us.
Hmm.
And with that, our what we're hoping to achieve this year is more in the campaign space. So
Hmm.
that's where we are creating, graphics and
Yeah.
videos and things like that as part of bigger ad campaigns. And so what we're looking at there is if we're on track to grow that sort of at the end of the year, we can start bringing on a designer to help with that work, because it's sort of that steady
Hmm.
sort of pay as you go or pay per month kind of
Yeah.
format. We're looking at both designers and developers to work with, and that's going to help us sort of scale and the web and the campaign side. If we see a bit more growth, I guess, in terms of like brand and website design, then we'll also look there. But mainly it's sort of developers,
Hmm.
and the I guess the like a designer to help with that campaign and grow that campaign side of it, because that's just it's great for cash flow. In this year, like we've already seen like quite like this calendar year, we've seen quite a huge jump in our revenue. So we're up to sort of 35K already, which
Oh,
is
that's
obviously
nice.
more than we made in our entire first
Yeah,
year.
yeah, that's cool.
So
This is the
yeah,
proof that some parts and points of your model
yeah,
is working, and you just need to push there and scale. This is what we do in some of our companies, which we invest in as well. So basically, you have some hypotheses and you try to A/B test them, and you just understand that something is working and something is not, and you just try to push and improve which is working and make it bigger as fast as you can.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what we found this year too with as we've kind of developed our services, it's that businesses that need a partner to basically help
Hmm.
launch them, with the brand and the website. And so I think because those projects are obviously more complex, there's a lot more work that goes into them. Obviously, we can make a lot more off that, and they're fantastic projects to sort of work on. So I think that's where we're seeing a little bit of
Yeah, yeah,
of growth as well. And then
understood.
with that campaign stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
that's really great.
yeah,
And I also had a question about the current struggles which you now have, because you are scaling pretty fast. You just double X in the small amount of time. And I
yeah.
assume that you will also scale and make some excess in revenue in the nearest future as well. So what are you struggling with now? So is it just hiring the new employees, or maybe just building the systems or other things, or looking for partnerships, or maybe something else?
One of the biggest struggles at the moment is as we take on sort of more complex web work, it's sort of continuing those and developing those relationships with developers so that we can basically for a project know who we can lean on and pull from to
Hmm.
get some of that help to deliver those. So building relationships with developers is a big one, again, just to pull in sort of that external help to deliver those.
Hmm.
um, for us, I guess one of the biggest struggles is also like nice, continuous, solid pipeline of work, sort of that's maybe, 3 to 6 months out in advance. For us at the moment, it seems to be sort of coming in very sort of within the next sort of month is when our work lands. And so it's not like we're quiet, but
Hmm.
it's just, making that sort of consistent pipeline so that we can plan. And then
Hmm.
obviously that helps with scaling, how much work is coming in the future.
Hmm.
So, if you can sort of start bringing
Yeah.
more expertise in.
And what is
So
the average
yeah,
pipeline time? For example, the deal time for you? Is it like
the
one
deal,
month, 2 months?
yeah, it's on average probably between 1 or 2 months.
Hmm.
1.5 months is probably a good average.
So
The
basically,
whole
you
sales
you are
process,
spending like 2.5 months starting from the first touch point with the customer to the first invoice from him, right? Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of that time is in those initial.
Mm-hmm.
We're finding, it takes a long time potentially to,
Mm-hmm.
get someone on board with a
Mm-hmm.
project.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
some of that is because I think a lot of customers at the moment sort of aren't looking to buy straight away. They
Mm-hmm.
want to do a little bit of due diligence. They want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make
About
sure that they
they
pick
want
the
to know
right.
more about the company and about
Yeah,
owners. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they need to sort of put their feelers out there and
Mm-hmm.
pick the right sort of company that's going to work for them, which is
Mm-hmm.
obviously fair enough. And so,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that's where a lot of
Mm-hmm.
obviously time goes. But then that's because there's just the two of us, and Ben and I are very sort of comfortable talking to people. I feel like that's where we really shine as
Mm-hmm.
well. And so that's
I
when
think
you're
you will be
comparing
not
us to,
alone very, very soon
yeah,
due to
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
high growth. Yeah. I would also tell that one other thing which, from my point of view, is really important to look at, and this is what I've started doing when I joined several companies as an investor, is just to looking at the cash flow and P&L statement. So basically, if you
Mm,
have the delay of 2.5 months of starting from like first touch point to the cash flow, you need to understand that you need to manage your cash flow properly to understand at what time basically you receive the money in terms of cash
mm,
flow and P&L. And this will help you to understand the real situation of things in terms of your profitability and cost structure, because in most cases, for example, they start working with the client in January, but they receive their money in March, for example, and they write their expenses and income in the March. But unfortunately, it is wrong because you're started from January, and according to P&L, you need to put those numbers at this month. In this case, the structure of your margins, there will be different numbers for that, and eventually it will impact on your projections and strategic thinking. Of course, in the UK and other countries, you can just change the specific time where you put the income and expenses. So for example, you can just split those expenses between different months, or you can just add them to the final month when you deliver the work, or in the beginning, or in just several months. But usually in the web development space, from my point of view, the really important is just to put this in those months where you just started working with the client. So because you will understand the real margin for your services, including the pipeline. So basically, it will help you to plan beforehand the scale of your company.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for us, like we invoice 50% upfront and then the final 50% sort of on completion of the project. And so sort of what you're saying is you'd basically take 50% and the final 50%, but sort of count that towards that first
So
initial.
basically, in one of our companies where I'm an investor, so we also charge 30% beforehand in advance. For example,
Mhm.
in when we start the project in January, and then
Yeah.
we work like for 2-3 months and we deliver the finished project in March, in the end of March. So basically, according to cash flow, you will have two um, payments. So first
Yes.
is in January and second in March. But according to P&L, you will have this is our system, how we do. According to P&L, we have only one payment, which is like 100% in January. And this is the income for company in January for us, because the project started this month, and it doesn't matter how long it took, because it was not the recurring payments for us, because we just charged for the whole project, not the support. Of course, if we have the support of the project or maybe some SEO services or paid ads, we charge every month, and we just put the invoices on this specific periods. but usually we do on a specific month.
Yeah, okay. Just to make that
Yeah,
accurate sort of
and it's
picture of
really helped
P&L.
because
Yeah,
you start to understand that, okay, when you work with the salespeople, you understand that, okay, in March, they can tell you that, okay,
yeah,
we finished the project and we received 70% of the income from this project. But actually, this project was closed and sold in January, not in March. And for you,
that's
this is
right.
not good because you need to control your salespeople to and understand that they drive more leads and they drive contracts, because when they drive, for example, contracts in March, you will have the delay of 2.5 months, and you will have payment, the final payment after, for example, 3 months after this start of the project. So in this case, it will help you to manage the real numbers, understand the real picture of your business. And you can actually see that at some in the beginning, at some months, you are profitable, and then on the other month, you do not have any revenue, or you have just expense, because when you pay the salary, you're paid in the specific month. So basically, this is the salary for example, January, in January, for January, and you have the fixed expenses. And basically, you will see that according to P&L, you have one profitable month and one negative month. But in terms of cash flow, you will have the positive numbers.
That's actually that's probably something that we could invest a little bit more time in, is looking at those sales numbers, how
Yeah,
long it
yeah.
takes to get from sort of that initial conversation and then
This is
sort of
one of the first
figuring it out long
things
term.
I started doing when I joined the board of
Yeah,
several companies, because the structure and the system of managing your cash flow and proper money really helps you in terms of growth. Because if you do not understand how much money you're making right now, even if you just have some money in your pocket on the bank account, etc., it makes it really difficult to plan for the certain period of time, and it makes it really difficult to understand how much money exactly you are making. For example, you can think that at some point you are profitable, but in real situation this cannot be so. And these two reports, like cash flow and income statement, will just open your eyes on some things. Yeah.
yeah. Well, one thing that we have spent a bit of time on figuring out is
Hmm.
what our kind of, I guess, our internal capacity is for projects, and sort of looking at that long term. So now when we get together and we,
Hmm.
have a new project that's coming in, we can
Yes.
sort of look at obviously the project management side of it. When can that like logically
Hmm.
fit? And so then that obviously helps us sort of plan out a bit of that sales pipeline as well, because we know we can't do everything obviously all at once. And then
Yeah,
we obviously need to sometimes bring
this is
in.
also really important, because you need to divide you
Mm,
as the owner of the company between you as the worker, because you as the
yeah,
worker, you have the wage, and you have the specific amount of money which you received because you are doing this work, and you as the owner eventually receive the dividends from the company. And you need to structure this in that way that you will either have the money for paying salaries or your workers, etc., and at the same time you will have the profit for making some money as the owner of the company. Because at some point when you are starting and you are charging as the freelancer, it's not always the proper price which is charged from you, which is includes like the amortization or maybe some risks or some management expenses, some tools, etc. You just charge for your time, which is equal to some dollars or pounds per hour. And when you just go through this process of scaling, you need to understand that what is the margin in this particular month. This month we made like 20% of margin on net profit, or next month we made like 25. And it will help you to either charge correctly for new clients, to understand how to pay yourself properly and your workers properly, how you can afford due to all the expenses, and not forget to pay yourself at first as well, because you as the worker, you need to build the unit economy that.
well, and that's sort of one of the benefits as well to being like a small remote studio, is that that profit margin is like it's kind of very easy to work out. And basically, we obviously have an idea of all of our expenses, and so what we've done is we've worked out like an hourly rate that allows us to pay ourselves plus those expenses. And
Yeah.
again, because we're remote, we're small. It's that's incredibly easy. And so then figuring out that um, sort of hourly rate per
Yeah.
sort of market, because we're international as
Hmm.
well. So it might it might need to be different sort of
Hmm.
for each sort of country or region. I feel like that's sort of quite important to what you're talking about as well, and achieving
Yeah.
that sort of that scalability. Yeah,
Yeah, because this is what we are struggling right now is the scaling company because you need extra money to hire more employees, and you
yeah,
just need to understand how much money you can just take from the monthly profit in order to hire like more salespeople, more designers, more coders, etc. Anyway, this is the part of the process, and I think this will be the really
yeah.
interesting journey for you as well. And
Well,
maybe
yeah,
do you
yeah.
have any book recommendations or maybe some pieces of advice for people who just want to start their own agency or scale at some point or receive their first clients or maybe something else?
I feel like, yeah, well, I guess a really good piece of advice is just to just think about starting as lean as possible, because these days it is so much easier to start freelancing on the side, or starting a studio really small,
Hmm.
just because of all the tools that we have access to on the internet and that kind of thing. So just thinking about how you can use those tools
Hmm.
to basically the best of your ability to just, yeah, create a system that is really lean and that you can deliver some really good work. And then in terms of book recommendations, I quite like. So I mean, I've read a bunch of books over the years, and I guess the two that have kind of like stuck with me that I think about still after reading them is probably the first one is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, specifically around thinking about the different sort of roles that everyone plays
Yeah.
or has in their own lives, and sort of how we can sort of make sure that we're actually staying true to those roles, and being good sort of business partners, or being
Hmm.
good sort of like relationship partners, and all that kind of thing. I found that really interesting. And then I also quite liked Made to Stick, and that is basically all about how messages and ideas stay in people's minds, and how, I guess, on the marketing side of things, we can tailor our messaging, our marketing, to be as sort of, I guess, as memorable as possible. And so I
Hmm.
think that's kind of helped, like, for us a little bit, just with like trying to launch and design like packages and bits of copy on the website and things like that. All the little things that
Yeah.
hopefully someone will see, and then later on they'll think back to, and they'll be able to remember, all those little things that might sort of put us sort of
Hmm.
above
Yeah. Yeah.
others. So yeah, those two in particular are ones that I still think about like years after reading them. And then I don't know, I like a lot of fiction as well. So
Yeah, amazing, amazing. We will put the links for these books in the description for the video and audio, whether you are listening or watching us. Yeah, thank you so much for your time being on the podcast. I hope you really enjoy, and thank you to our audience for listening. And we will see and hear you in the next episodes.